Okay, part 2. The next day, after school, Victoria went home, changed her clothes, and rode with her mother up to the funeral home. Victoria wanted to wear something suitable, so she decided to wear what most people wore when they attended funerals. Black sundress, a big black straw hat. She carried her old Easter basket and it had a bunch of daisies from her mother's garden in it. When she and her mother arrived at the funeral home, if you're noticing that I'm kind of pausing, that's because I noticed I've made some really bad mistakes that would make Victoria and Tom cringe. Just cringe. It's making me cringe. That's how bad it is. I obviously was writing this down in a hurry. When her and her mother arrived at the funeral home, see, her and her mother, Victoria wasted no time getting to the cemetery. She opened the gate and explored the whole graveyard. Victoria never thought of the cemetery as a graveyard. She never really thought about how there were people just buried 6 feet under her feet. She mostly just saw it as a place with a bunch of pretty headstones and statues. She walked around, looking at the names and the dates, leaving a daisy here and there, saying hello every once in a while. She finally got to the top of the hill and stopped. She looked at a lonely headstone all by itself. She couldn't move. It was a headstone with an angel etched into the stone. She moved closer and closer to it and kneeled down. She read what it said. Here lies Alexander Joseph Carpenter, April 21st, 1929 through December 24th, 1939. Rest in peace. 10 years old, Victoria whispered. Mom was right. You really can go at any time. And on Christmas Eve of all times. She was silent for a moment and then spoke to Alexander. Hi, Alexander. Or do you mind if I call you Alex? She said nervously. She waited a second, but as she guessed, there was no answer. Wow, just 10 years old. A year older than me. Wonder how you died. The wind blew slightly, and for the first time in her whole life, living in Ravenbrook, it seemed like the sun was shining. She looked around, and it was, but only enough just at that one stone. Everywhere else was gray. She gasped. She had a mixture of happiness and fear in her. She just stared at the grave. She traced her fingers on the letters. Alex, are you trying to speak to me? She asked. Victoria? Called a voice behind her. She looked quickly and saw that it was her father. Come on, Princess, it's time to go home. But Daddy, I just got here, she whined. You've been on this hill for hours. We've got to get home, said Mr. Poe. Hours? It can't be. I just got here. I haven't been here for hours, she thought. Over and over these words replayed in her mind. Mr. Poe picked up his small daughter and carried her to the car. Goodbye, she whispered to the lonely plot. Then she thought she heard it reply back in a whisper. Goodbye. And I did not realize that part 2 would be so short. So basically, the story, the plot line, is that it starts off with somebody else narrating the story, which is the character that I've called Sarah, aka Serenade, nickname given to her by her husband. She's narrating the story of how Victoria meets a little ghost boy, Alexander. When Victoria meets the little ghost boy, she finds out there are actually other ghosts living in the cemetery. He's not the only one. So she's got to figure. So the ghosts have a theory that they think if they can find out why Alexander doesn't know about his life, he can't remember. He doesn't remember how he died. He remembers his mom and dad going to church on Christmas Eve, and that's pretty much all he remembers. So they think if he finds out why he died, then he'll know why he's not why he's still there, and hopefully they'll help him and the rest of the ghosts pass on. You're probably wondering about like why does Ravenbrook have a lot of clouds? Ravenbrook has a lot of clouds because there is a curse put on it, and I'm not going to say by who. I want to tell you like the entire story, like with Serenade and her husband, and Madame Natasha, and all these different characters that I have in my head, and in this document. However, I really want to get this published, and I really need to get this done, and there are times as a writer you just want the writing fairies to come in and finish up at least a chapter so you can go on to the next one. Because you know what's going to happen in the next chapter, but you don't know what's going to happen right now. Although I do, because I've written this before, and then I lost part of it, and so I'm rewriting it again. But so basically, and how Serenade gets into this is she kind of gets in the middle. She didn't mean to, it just sort of happened. So Victoria is the one that kind of starts it. Serenade is the one that finishes it. As odd as it sounds, Serenade is kind of the main character, and I'll explain more about who she is maybe in another video. She works for the local newspaper. She and her husband is a youth pastor at their church. But she helps Victoria out in some things, and she's not realizing it because Victoria's kind of keeping a secret from her. Because obviously, a 9-year-old tells an adult that they're talking to ghosts. They might think they're crazy, or they're just pretending, or, so she's like, well, she's not going to believe me, so I kind of gotta make it up. But, anyway, so, I need your help with something. Most of you are friends with me on Facebook. I want you to remind me every day, say, have you written your book yet? Have you started are you working on a chapter? What are you working on? Are you working on your book? Obviously, I gotta clean and do my other stuff, but I need to get this done. Like, I'm halfway through. I can feel it. I'm halfway through. I got probably over, like, 30,000 words, something like that. So, I'm to the halfway point. But I need to finish it. I've been working on this for maybe over a year or two. So I need to hurry up and finish it because I want to get this done. But I want to get this done perfectly, so I don't necessarily want to rush it. But I need to work on it. It's not rushing if you just start working back on it again. So I need your help. Please help me keep focus and help me get this done. I love you guys. And tell me what you think. Is it even worth getting published? Am I a crappy writer? Or, just let me know in the comments. Any questions that you got about the characters or anything like that, put them down and I'll answer them.